Okay, welcome everyone. I'm very honored to be here with Dr. Wadude Laird and those of you both on the live call and on the recording that are listening to this later. And this is an introduction to our friends and family program that will be Friday evening, July 20th through Sunday, the 22nd of July in LA at the University of Spiritual Healing and Sufism School Session. And in pondering how to introduce you, Dr. Laird, I could say all the letters behind your name, but what is important to me is my experience of you, and I know many others' experience of you, is the safety and trust of the deep love that you transmit and give to anyone that is around you. And I know I am one of many who has relaxed into the experience of that deep love, and it's helped me immensely with my healing during these years of knowing you. And that just has to be my introduction. And I know that this is just one of the offerings of this Friends and Family program that is quite expansive from what we usually offer. And so I ask if you would now, just whatever you would like to say about an overview of the Friends and Family program, and then we will take some questions and see where we go from there.
Okay, great. Thank you, Donna, Jamil, and thank you everybody who's on the call live in person, and for anyone who's going to be listening to us on a recording. I've been asked to describe the program a little bit in general, and I'm just thinking personally, how did I get into this work personally, which relates to the workshop. And what came to me is when I was growing up, a teenager, and into my 20s, into actually college and medical school, I think basically I was chronically depressed, and I didn't know why. And I think I was basically afraid to talk with people, and it just kind of shut down. And in retrospect, I realized that I was completely unaware of what we call in the Sufi tradition, the heart. I was unaware of my heart, how to care for my heart, and what was the impact on my sense of well-being. My sense of well-being was largely determined by what was going on in my heart, and what was going on in my heart actually largely drives what was going on in my mind. So I grew up without an owner's manual of the heart, if you will. And how things started to change was really when my heart started to open up. I remember once in college, I was walking in a New England apple orchard, I think it was. And all of a sudden, I was in this world of love. Everything just is what you call a mystical experience. I wasn't on drugs or anything like that. But I was aware of that there was love flowing through all levels of the creation, flowing through me. I think I went around saying, it's all love, there's nothing but love. Like I said, no drugs. And from a Sufi perspective, it was like the veils between the human being and the divine worlds were lifted, were parted. And I got to peek behind the curtain and to see what's the reality behind the physicality of this existence. And that began a search for, really, wow, this is an amazing feeling. And then the next time I can think of was I went to a workshop. It was actually led by a physician, and she said, let's go out and have a break from the workshop. And we went outside, and she said, let's all whirl. And I said, what's whirling? And she said, well, that's what you did when you were a kid. You go outside and you open your arms and you spin around like you did when you were a kid. And I said, look, lady, when I was a kid, I played football, baseball, and ice hockey, and I didn't whirl. She said, try it. I tried it. And again, all of a sudden, the veils between, you could say, the human world and the divine world were parted, and it was just stunning. I was in the presence of celestial music. And so in my case, in retrospect, I feel like it's like this is where the divine put me, was in this very deep teaching we call Sufism, deep teaching about the heart. So the beautiful thing about it is one doesn't have to be a card-carrying Sufism to learn from this rich and deep treasure of insights of how to live a life where your heart is fed deeply by the divine. And hopefully, or not hopefully, but it's definitely happens, where your heart becomes a source of love and mercy and compassion and healing for other people, which I think is what many of us so deeply want to do, is to be really, really helpful for the people we love and the people we care about. So you could say the workshop, we called it Creating a Heart of Peace, Love, and Mercy in Today's World, is really what we're wanting to do, is to give people who are just beginning with these perspectives, or even those who, I've had people come to my introductory classes who've been in Sufism for 20 years, so there's no restriction on it. We're really going to spend time deeply during the weekend, Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, really exploring the heart. What is your heart? How do you connect with your heart? And because in my experience as a healer and teaching with, gosh, now thousands of people, your sense of well-being is deeply dependent on the well-being and the healthiness of your heart. And what is that dependent on? So let's see, how could I give an example? So let me ask you, so how many times a day do you wash your hands? Now, when I'm working with a large group of people, easily everybody washes their hands 3 or 4 times a day, and then some people 5 or 6 or 7 times a day. And that's pretty standard, so I'm going to assume that's standard for you guys listening today. And the question is, how often do you wash your heart? How often do you wash your heart? So from the Sufi perspective, very few people really wash their heart on a daily basis. So what happens, what are the signs and symptoms, you could say, of your hands when they're not, washed regularly? Well, they get sticky, they get, I don't know, they get sticky and grungy. And what happens to the heart when the heart's not washed? Well, the heart gets sticky and grungy. It gets constricted, it gets compressed. There's a lack of, joy, vitality, a sense of love and peace and trust. These are all signs that the heart isn't getting the cleaning it needs. So to keep it simple, from the Sufi perspective, the ideal way to clean the heart is to learn how to open the heart to receive what is available from the divine worlds. So this is a multidimensional teaching, and it may sound like philosophy, but our work during the weekend will be to help everybody who comes, with individual help and group teachings, to help people learn how to open their heart to receive divine love, to receive divine peace, to receive divine mercy, to receive divine healing. So as one of our teachers at the Sufi University said, if you want healing, it's ideal to go to the source of healing, which would be in the divine worlds, or if you want love, to go to the source of love. So the work during the workshop and then during our lives is to, first of all, learn how to open the heart, learn how to receive really the resources that are available to every human being. It's just that we haven't been told about it, and we haven't been told how to do it. Honestly, with the thousands of people I've worked with, I'm not sure I've ever worked with anyone who knew right from the beginning really how to do this. So there's some basic skills, and once the basic skills are locked in, then it's a matter of learning how to deepen and receive it. So one of the things I'm excited about the workshop is we're gonna go into what is this incredible creation that we call the human heart, and as I've said, how to care for it, and how to feed it. And for many years as an integrative holistic medical doctor, I worked with people with heart disease and helped them learn how through natural methods they could prevent, bypass surgery and leg amputations and all those kinds of things. And I did so much work on diet and, fats and complex carbohydrates and stuff like that. But I've come to believe that the most important nutrient for the heart is light. Literally, the most important nutrient for the heart is light. And of course, divine light would be the yummiest nutrient for the heart. So when we look at the true nature of the heart, this is really interesting. In the Aramaic and the Arabic word for heart, one of the words is qalb, which would be transliterated in English Q-A-L-B. I apologize for the sound out there and recording in a beautiful porch here in Western North Carolina. Hopefully you can hear me all right. So the word qalb, Q-A-L-B, qalb means, it refers to the fact that the heart actually turns and it rotates, if you will. It looks in one direction and looks or witnesses in another direction. So the most fundamental rotation is that the heart is either witnessing the divine worlds or it's witnessing, you could say, the material world. You could say it's witnessing the divine worlds. You could say it's witnessing our own creation, our own inner beliefs, our own, what do we call inner, identity. We've built up, we can go into this during the weekend, but all of us have built up what we would call false identities because we've created these identities based on early childhood experiences, our interpretations of those experiences, and usually our interpretations, honestly, aren't so positive. So we find all sorts of insufficiencies in ourselves, or insufficiencies in people, or insufficiencies about God, and then we create a whole story around this and a whole identity. So that observation of the false identities we create is not unique to Sufism. There's many philosophies and paths that have identified it. What I love about Sufism is the whole process by which you open these creations, these identities, false identities, to the light of divine intelligence, divine wisdom, divine mercy, divine compassion, divine peace. And when you learn how to open these inner constrictions directly to divinity, then beautiful things happen. So our workshop is really going to be focused on having you experience beautiful things happening on the inside. And again, based on my experience with healing, the heart, when it witnesses, when the heart's doesn't have a sense of well-being, most often it has to do with, consciously or unconsciously, we're focused on, invested in, and believing in these false stories we tell ourselves about ourselves, which create limitation and pain and so on and so forth. But the heart can also obviously feel a loss of well-being just by witnessing what's going on in the world today. And because we have instant news feeds of really horrendous stories just all over the world. And this creates a deep stress on the heart, especially the hearts of people who are sensitive, spiritually sensitive or emotionally sensitive. So in those cases, in both cases, the heart is not witnessing divinity. The heart is witnessing, you can say, the material world. The heart is witnessing, has a very constricted understanding of what's going on. So we'll be working, really on the weekend, we'll be working with whatever you bring to the workshop, whatever you're concerned about, whatever you're interested in having breakthroughs in, and supporting you in using classical Sufi processes that are gentle, that are deeply holy, and deeply healing. So that's what I'm looking forward to sharing with you. Now, one of the cool things about this weekend is that I'll be joined by two other teachers, senior faculty at the university, who actually, they're two of them, and they're both co-presidents of the university now. One of them will be Selima Edelstein, who is truly a master healer. I don't use those words very lightly, but Selima has really dedicated her life to healing, has worked with probably tens of thousands of people, and has a deep understanding of the healing process. And I've asked her to come in and really, we'll all be teaching healing, but I've asked her to come in and teach some special aspects of healing. And she's a lot of fun to be with, and really deeply helpful as a spiritual guide for people. And then our other teacher during the weekend will be Kamala Shenman, co-president of the university, who has just a very deep understanding of what we call the Sufi walking, of this beautiful process of a heart that's starts being focused primarily on the outer world, primarily on habitual, self-beliefs and limited thinking and constricted self-esteem, so on and so forth, and how this particular Sufi tradition can help walk the heart into deeper and deeper realization. And she's had a lot of very special work with what we call the divine qualities. So I've asked her to come in and teach what she's learned, and I actually look forward to I hope I can be present at that part when she's teaching, because some of what she's learned I haven't been taught yet. So anyway, we have three really experienced teachers. We'll be rotating through. I'll be giving some teachings Friday night and Saturday and Sunday, so I'm a little bit more of the constant presence. So I guess that's why I've been asked to give this little introduction to the weekend. Let's see. When Donna Jamil introduced the workshop, we need to tell folks it's in Los Angeles, but that's a big place. It's in the LAX Hilton, so the Hilton Hotel that's near the LAX airport. We start Friday at 7:30 and in the evening, and then Saturday morning we'll be going until about 5:30, and Sunday we'll be going until about 5 or 5:30. All that information is available on the website, which I believe you can go to sufiuniversity.org, programs, and look for the Friends and Family program. We'll be having hopefully some family members of our students. We're having a regular school session then, so hopefully maybe family members who come to the workshop, but also people from it could be from anywhere in the country, but hopefully we'll also have people who are in the Los Angeles area who take advantage of this workshop and come. Like I said, don't need to be a card-carrying Sufi. Just be someone who's interested in learning about the care and feeding of your heart, and interested in learning how to do the healing, and help you, really want to help you create the life you want to create. So our content of our workshops is really dependent on what you bring and what you care about, and we just roll with that, and that creates a spontaneous, loving, and safe environment. So
I do have a question for you, Wadude.
And yeah, I'm going to throw it open to whatever questions we have.
Here's one: can you share a bit how being in a group in the container with others will impact what a person will receive, and how then they can use that out in today's world? because the container and being with the group deepens everything. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. I mean, it's good news, bad news. So the good news is when you're in a workshop, as some of you may have experienced, but I think it's especially true for our work, we really place a major focus on creating a safe environment where people can work together to the degree they want to. Some people prefer kind of to work privately, which is fine. But really what our intention is to really open the whole group to these worlds of divine love and peace and kindness and generosity. So we begin to experience that ourselves in the weekend, and that supports deeper healing for everybody. For sure, it's like Jesus saying, "Where two or more are gathered in my name, then that's where I will be too." I might have mangled that quotation, but it's the same thing. Then when you go out in the world, you may not have been thinking of this, maybe taking it a different direction than you had in mind. But when you go out in the world, it's like, wow, in some ways that support isn't there. It's like, where are all my friends and family that were there? But there's wisdom in this. It's on the one hand, it's like, oh, then you get to go out in the world and try it on for size in your daily life. And that's why we have school sessions where we meet and do intense work for a week or 8 days, and then we go home and learn how to apply it in, quote, the real world or in our life, and begin to change our habits and our experiences. But the beautiful thing is when you get this key to opening your heart directly to divine resources, then it's not dependent on anyone. It's not dependent on the group. It's not dependent on me. You've learned a skill which shifts everything. That just life is never the same. So, and I do want to say that our community, I think, and Donna Jamila, you're fantastic with this, is really supporting people even after the workshop. And Jamila supported people for 8 or 10 years. So what is it said? You never had a friend, you never had a friend, you never had a friend like me. Well, you never had a friend like Donna Jamila. So as a community, that's our commitment as best we can to help and support people, not just to have a nice weekend experience, but to have a life where you're creating more and more what you want. And the last thing I'd just say is what this leads to, and this is what Donna Jamila, you and I both feel, I know we feel this is really beautiful, really captures something, is as you're feeding the heart regularly, opening the heart regularly, releasing all of the patterns and beliefs that no longer serve you, beginning to receive directly more and more, love, peace, mercy, healing, strength, wisdom, knowledge, understanding. I mean, there's an infinite number of divine lights that can be received. Then your heart begins to become what we call an oasis. And that's really what the workshop's headed toward, is when you're anchoring your heart in sort of like a direct feed to what we call your own divine inheritance. This is what every human being is meant to have. When that happens, then no matter what's, I don't say no matter what, but it's pretty close. No matter what's going on in your life, which may be incredibly challenging, very difficult, because many of us have very difficult challenges. And I work with people these days largely who have cancer, and that's a very strong and challenging journey. But I realized from my own experience dealing with someone in my own family had cancer, that cancer can be this unique, it occurred to me originally as a death sentence, but in truth, it can be this incredible opportunity for deep healing, love, and transformation. But that healing, love, and transformation happens in the heart. And once your heart becomes an oasis, then I feel very blessed, but I've found that I can be in very difficult situations. And if my witnessing of my heart is out there, like I talked about earlier on in this call, then I'm all caught up in the drama and the difficulty. But if I take a moment to just check inside, my heart's just sitting in a very peaceful, loving, trusting place. So that's what we mean when we say an oasis. And I think that's one of the just the deep beauties of where this work is headed, is for your heart to be an oasis for no matter what's going on in your life. And then your heart becomes an oasis for the people that are in your life, who that you love and care for. And these divine qualities start to overflow from your heart to other people spontaneously. So that's really the depth of the work. And that's what we're about.
Thank you, Wadude. So beautiful. I'm soaking it in, as I'm sure all the listeners are. Now, what we can do right now is unmute everyone, and then if you have a question. So shall we take a few minutes to do that?
Sure. Yes, let's, because, yeah, definitely.
Nothing fancy with a lot of spices or anything. Ooh, I love these. I know, they're very good.
Does anybody have a question? I'm not hearing any yet.
Okay, are there any questions? And you may need to unmute yourself. Okay, if you're trying to ask a question and we're not hearing you, you might put it in the chat.
I have a question. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. Hi, Sandra.
Hi. I wonder if this weekend is appropriate for people with cancer issues.
It could be appropriate for anyone. I would say, yeah, on one hand, for sure. But there's so many different aspects that go on with cancer. I wouldn't want to represent this as, well, if you come to this weekend, you'll get healed from your cancer. We could easily represent it. You come to this weekend and you can begin to learn a tool that can be incredibly helpful for you with cancer. That I feel very with.
Thank you. That's helpful.
Beautiful question. Thank you, dear. Any other questions?
Okay, well, we're at time. Let me just close.
One question that came through, Wadude, and that is, will the course be offered via phone or conference call? And it will not be.
Correct. It will not be.
Yeah, and we do have the course getting to the heart of cancer. So there are several options on the University of Spiritual Healing and Sufism website that could be some options for the information you're looking for the person who asked that question.
And I saw on our call we have someone from Edmonton, Canada. Yay! That's exciting. My apologies to everybody in Canada for what our government is doing. You really are. Okay. I think that's it. I don't see any other questions on the chat forum. So what I want to do, Donna Jamil, is just extend the invitation to people to join us on Friday night, July 20th at the LAX Hilton. We'll go straight through. Hi, there's Casey. Hi, Casey. We'll go straight through to, I think Casey's going to support me in this. We'll go straight through Sunday evening, as I mentioned before. The cost for the workshop is $195. We're going to have 3 wonderful teachers, and the people that will be coming as students in the workshop, I think, are going to be really the special treat of the whole thing. So I hope you guys will join me. And I turn it over to Casey.
Hi, everybody. So I wanted to let you know there will be a recording that you'll receive of this, in case you want to double back on anything Wadude said. Also, I've posted the registration link in the chat window for those joining by phone. That link is sufiuniversity.org/programs/friends and family. That can also be found on our website on the homepage. If you look at the banners on the top, it's pretty prominent up there. And if you have any questions You can reach out to info@sufiuniversity.org or enrollment@sufiuniversity.org, and we'd be happy to help you join. We're really excited about this weekend, so we hope you'll be able to join us down there.
Thank you, Casey. And I would say if anybody has any questions, feel free to send them to info@sufiuniversity.org. And Casey or Donna Jamil, you can forward those to me. So I'd be glad to respond to any questions that people have. I think that's a wrap, as they say in Los Angeles. Thank you, everybody. Much love. Good to see you. Bye-bye.